Welcome to Leo Augusto's compilation channel. Here, there will only be videos of 10 minutes or longer, my friends, so subscribe so you don't miss any videos, okay? Hi Leo, I'm Junior. I want to share a story from when I was 11. It was 2 months after I moved to a new house. I used to live in a 2-story house, but my dad is already a bit old, so it was hard for him to keep going up and down the stairs, so we decided to move. The new house was simple. 1 floor, 3 bedrooms, the bathroom and the kitchen. But there was already a legend that the house had been used for religious rituals. But I didn't really believe in those things because it had been built about 2 years ago, and even though it looked old, I didn't believe in that, you know? I forgot to mention that along with the house, there was also a mini market next to it. This is gonna be important for the story. One night I was sleeping and I had a strange dream. In this dream, I was at a camp and suddenly I saw shadows. And it felt like I was being watched. I don't know, it was something weird. But since it was just a dream, I woke up and was fine. The next night I was sleeping again and had the same dream. My head was turned toward the door, and at that moment I saw something. It didn't look human. It was about 2 meters tall, really tall, almost reaching the ceiling. I woke up twice like that with the shadow looking at me. Since I was really scared, man, I didn't even get up. I don't even know how I had the courage to go back to sleep after seeing that shadow of that thing. The floor of the house was made of wood, and you could almost always hear footsteps when you were in bed. The footsteps were very quiet, barely audible, and they would wander around the house for hours. Around 4 in the morning, the alarm of this mini market went off. My dad went over to take a look, to see if no one was trying to break in. And after he saw that everything was fine, he turned off the alarm. After a while, the alarm went off again, and there was no sign of anyone. An hour later, the alarm went off again. My dad was already kind of freaked out and grabbed a shotgun. He got there, nothing again. What was going on, man? It was something bizarre. The alarm kept going off. There was no one there. What could be triggering that thing? Already angry, he went and turned off all the power in the house, and that way the alarm stopped going off. The next night, I had a dream that the walls of my room were closing in on me and saying, "You are being watched." I would always wake up startled by something. I don't know if this house is haunted, but I'm sure strange things happen here. Well, Leo, that was my story. I hope you liked it. Hello, Leo. I think your channel is really cool, and I wanted to share a story that happened to me. By the way, my name is Ricardo. Every year, at the end of the year, my family and I used to travel to a small town in the countryside where my grandmother lives. Next to her house lives my aunt and my cousins, Bianca and Gustavo. We used to get together and play all sorts of games. Our favorite was playing Paranormal Investigators. In rural areas, there are always ghost stories and supernatural creatures. That inspired us, but we never did anything really important. At most, it was fighting a cockroach, and that took hours. 200 meters ahead of my grandmother's house, there was an abandoned blue house. It was a very old property that had been abandoned for a long time. My cousins and I were really afraid of it. We thought it was haunted and wouldn't go near it, until one day, our uncle joined us on this adventure. Until then, the front door was locked, so we went around to check the back part. At the back of the house, a larva appeared on the wall. Bianca screamed because of the insect. Our uncle punched the larva forcefully. He crushed it completely. We were impressed by his strength and stopped feeling afraid. After all, we're with our uncle, and he's really strong. Look at the size of this guy. The back door was also locked, and we decided to go back to our grandmother's house. We were upset that we couldn't get into the abandoned house, and in the afternoon we decided to go again, but this time without our uncle. When we got there, we saw that the door was unlocked, kind of open, Bianca got scared and refused to enter. She asked Gustavo to stay with her. I kept going because I couldn't miss the chance to prove that I was the bravest of the paranormal investigators. Inside, it was a kitchen. I walked in and saw a bag with white dresses, and there was a half-open door that let you see into the next room. It was a living room and the place was really dirty. You could see a very dark hallway. I spotted someone approaching while in the center of the living room. Staying put would expose me. I entered another door which led to a bathroom with only a small window. I wanted to prove my toughness, but I was terrified and thinking about escaping. There was no way to jump out. So I kept watching the guy through the crack in the door. He was an old man with a long beard and long hair, wearing torn clothes and holding a scythe, man. Oh my God, what did I get myself into? I kept waiting for him to leave, but he wouldn't go. I couldn't hold it in and started crying quietly. What could he do to us? He was going to kill us right there, man. That rusty scythe, are you crazy? My cousin ran into the kitchen yelling, "Hey Richard, where are you, man?" Until he realized there was a man there and ran out. The man went after him, and that was the chance to escape. Bianca and Gustavo ran to my grandma's house, and I threw myself into a bush and stayed hidden, watching, you know? I couldn't run with him because he would see me, man. It would have been crazy. He would have caught me, and that would be it. The old man even got close to the house, but for some reason he ended up going back. As soon as he went back to the abandoned house, I was able to get out of the bushes and went back to my grandma's house. That same day at night, we were gathered on my grandma's porch, talking about what happened and looking at the blue house, until the old man came out the front door. He was wearing the white dress that was in the kitchen of the abandoned house and holding the scythe in his hand. He stared at us and pointed his finger. We quickly went inside and locked everything up. I peeked through the window and saw him going into the woods. What could that guy be doing dressed as a woman and holding a scythe? All I know is that the next day we went back to the house, and this time the back door was locked again. My cousin had a hairpin and started fiddling with the lock. After half an hour, she managed to open it. We went in quietly so we wouldn't make any noise. We saw the white dress the man wore the night before. It had red stains that looked like blood. We went to take a look around the house. We walked down the hallway and entered a bizarre room. There were bones on the floor and a lot of filth. Luckily for us, the guy wasn't in that house. We decided to get out of there. We told our uncle what we had seen inside the bizarre house. He told us to stop going in there and ended up going to check it out. He went inside and after 2 minutes he came out. I think he was shocked by what he saw because the next day he bulldozed the abandoned house. Hello, I'm Maurício, and the story I'm going to tell you happened recently. I had just gotten home from school. I'm always alone until my dad gets back from work. So I leave the lights on and play some music on my phone to distract myself because my house is very big and I'm a little scared. I was in my room taking off my sneakers when suddenly I heard my dad's footsteps in the kitchen. I was happy and went there, but there was no one. I went back to my room and the phone started playing a song my dad likes. I didn't have that song on my phone. How did that happen? I picked up the phone to check and it suddenly shut off in my hand despite having 70% battery. How did it turn off unexpectedly? Man, that's just weird stuff. I got scared because there was no one I could ask for help, and my dad wouldn't let me leave the house until he got home. I turned my phone back on and dialed my dad's number. It rang just once and he answered. I only heard a strange noise like there was interference. At that moment, I smelled food coming from the kitchen. And I saw someone messing with the pots. I went to the kitchen and there was nothing. Everything was in place. I noticed that the house became cold and lifeless. I looked at the plants and they were wilted. I closed my bedroom door and kept watching through the keyhole. I saw a shadow moving from one side to the other, and then desperate, I shouted, "Dad!" At that moment, the phone rang again. It was my aunt saying that someone else was going to stay with me. Right then, the doorbell rang. I went to the door to answer it, and there was no one there. I gathered my courage and went outside to see if anyone was at the gate. The street was empty. When I came back inside, there was an old man with a long beard and gray hair sitting on the couch. I was terrified and asked who he was, what he wanted with me. He stood up and grabbed me by the neck.
I'm gonna take you to your father, boy.
Then I felt my vision go dark and I blacked out. I saw only darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I woke up next to the hospital bed where my father had suffered a serious accident. After he recovered, my father told me the story. He was driving and passed near a cemetery when he saw something in front of the car. He tried to swerve but ended up crashing. Luckily, he made it out of that one. And to this day, I don't know how I ended up in that hospital. Hello, Leo. My name is Gabriela, and I'd like to share a story that happened to me at my grandmother's house. My cousin lives there with her. She had one of those big dolls, life-sized, you know? I didn't like that doll. I felt like it was spying on me. I don't know. Since my cousin was going to sleep over for 2 days, I decided to go too. My cousin hardly ever played with that weird doll, except when my sister and some other cousins were there. Then the doll would be used. But you could see on that creature's face that it was ready to attack. My God, that doll always gave me the creeps. My grandmother was religious and believed in beings, spirits, those kinds of things. Even though my grandmother prayed so nothing bad would happen to our family, I was always suspicious. Why was that doll still in the house? We needed to get rid of that thing, right? The doll would mysteriously appear in various locations throughout the house, causing my grandmother to complain to my cousin about leaving it around and making a mess. However, my cousin was not responsible for the doll's movements. Next to the guest room was the kitchen, and in the kitchen there was an entrance that led to the basement, man, a creepy basement. And there was one night when I was in the guest room, man, with my cousin, and suddenly I heard a strange noise coming from the kitchen. It was already nighttime. I don't think anyone was there. Who would be there at like 3-something, 4 in the morning? All I know is that I woke up because of that weird noise and went to check it out with my cousin. There was nothing in the kitchen. I looked at the basement door and it was kind of open. Oh my God, what could have happened for that door to be open? Did someone go in there?
My cousin and I slowly walked up. We started opening the door. And when I looked down there, man, the doll was lying right on the floor.
Scared, we just left it there and got out of there, man. We went back to our room. When we opened the door to our room, who was there? Yes, the creepy doll. Either there are 2 dolls like that, or that doll that was downstairs somehow, I don't know how, got into our room. Oh my God, what is this? This is a curse. I put the doll outside the room and we went to sleep. It sucked trying to fall asleep. I kept having nightmares. In one of them, I was being chased by the killer doll. When she was about to catch me, I woke up. The next morning when I woke up, the doll was under my bed. I didn't know what was happening anymore. Tired of being chased, I called my cousin to help me destroy it. We smashed the evil thing and buried it far away from there. I think we took care of it because I never saw it again. Oh, Gabriel, have you seen my doll? I haven't seen it. I don't know. It must be lying around somewhere. Didn't my grandma take it? Hey Leo, how's it going? My name is Danilo and I'm 15 years old. This story happened to me about 5 years ago and I always remember it because I got traumatized by it. In my old apartment, there was a long hallway. It led to my room, which was the first one, and my mom's room was all the way at the end. I was a little afraid of sleeping alone. And one day, I decided to sleep with the door open, without the television and without the light, to get rid of my fear of the dark. That night I couldn't sleep well, I don't know why. It felt like I had insomnia or something. I kept tossing and turning in bed and just couldn't sleep. No position was comfortable. Until at one point I was looking at the hallway and out of nowhere I saw a shadow pass by. It had come out of my mom's room. I got scared but I was paralyzed, and 2 minutes later what shocked me even more happened. I saw another shadow coming out of my mom's room, but this one was different. It was huge, man, and it was flying. It looked like those Dementors from Harry Potter, you know? And at that moment, I started crying out of fear. Some time passed until I saw another shadow come out of her room, and this time it stopped at my door. It turned and started staring at me, and it stayed there for about a minute. I was staring at it, and it was staring at me too, until it started coming toward me. When it got close to me, everything went dark and I blacked out. I only woke up the next day with a huge weight on my body. I went back to sleeping with the door closed and a light on my computer desk, just to be safe. You know? What if it came back? Hello, Leo. I'm Jonas. I live in a house that's just 1 block away from a cemetery. As close as it is, I've never witnessed anything out of the ordinary. One day, we gathered several friends from the neighborhood to play hide and seek. The town I lived in was really small and had only a few streets. It wasn't hard to find someone in that game. That's why we usually played at night, because it was easier to hide since the place was so small, you know? As a strategy, one of my friends, affectionately nicknamed Kataro, had the brilliant idea for us to go hide inside the cemetery. It would be an ideal place for us to hide because it was scary and probably no one would look there. So we started the game, right? When the seeker started counting, we immediately went to the cemetery. When we got there, we started looking for possible hiding places. After some time searching, I hid behind a tombstone and watched the others hide. Some climbed up into trees, others also hid behind other tombstones. My friend Kataro decided to innovate again and hid inside a grave. My God! That kid is crazy! Who in their right mind would hide inside a hole in the ground? We stayed there for a long time, man. The seeker never showed up. Actually, we didn't hear any sign of anyone else. I think we stayed there for about half an hour. Until I felt a strange vibration on the ground. The tombstone I was on seemed to shake too. When I look at the grave, I see my friend Kataro running out of the hole saying that something grabbed his leg. Run, you guys! I didn't stay to see what it was. It happened in the blink of an eye. We ran out of the cemetery and returned to our street. We got there and didn't see anyone. Not the storyteller, not the other kids. Man, what happened there? You really scared us. After that tremor in the ground, I felt something grabbing my foot. When I looked down, it was a hand. That's when I jumped out of there, right? I escaped. You likely just got caught in a root and mistook it for something else. Is that so? So why do I have this handprint on my foot? Hi Leo, I'm Samuel and I'm 13 years old, and I'm going to tell you a story that left me traumatized for quite a while. This happened at my grandmother's house. She was one of those people who knew a lot of legends and would tell them to her grandchildren. Her house was in the middle of nowhere because she said she loved nature. One day, my cousins and I had the brilliant idea to go out at night and explore the woods. We waited for everyone to fall asleep and went on our adventure. It was me, my cousin, and my other cousin. It didn't take long for us to get lost. After all, it was pitch dark and we didn't have a flashlight. Besides, the woods all look the same, right? It was hard to have any reference to guide us, but we still hoped to get out of there. We kept walking for a long time. Suddenly, we heard a girl scream in desperation. We got really scared, but we kept going, trying to find a way out. After a few minutes, we heard the same scream again, and it was agonizing to listen to. This time, it was much louder. We got desperate and ran as fast as we could in the opposite direction of the scream. I got separated from them and found myself surrounded by brush. My body began shaking uncontrollably. Panic took over my body, and when that happens, I start to cry. The scream occurred again, nearly right beside me. I looked and saw a little girl, man. She was about 3 years old, more or less. She was walking around in dirty clothes, crying and screaming. I didn't think twice and ran like crazy. I don't even know where to. Until I managed to spot my grandma's house and I got out of there. When I got there, I told my cousins and they said that when they ran, they lost sight of me. And they got to the house. They said they didn't hear any screams after they ran. At that moment, we started to hear someone approaching through the woods. We ran inside the house and locked ourselves in our room. The next day, I told my grandma, and she said that in that forest, there was a mysterious death of a girl many years ago. And there was a rumor that every night her spirit would wander around there. After that, every night I would dream about what happened, and my heart races. I never returned to that forest. I hope you enjoyed this compilation and that I brought you some good entertainment.